video, we will be doing a short tactical breakdown of Ecuador's match of the week between Barcelona Sporting Club and Orense Sporting Club. If you want to check out the pre-match stat pack that we did, make sure you check the link in the description below, which will lead you to that information. For today's video, I'm going to discuss a couple of topics related to tactical elements. First, I will discuss Orense's starting lineups and formation. Then I will talk about their defensive shape, the concept of the use of an extra center back in a 3-4-3 formation. Then I will discuss Orense's build-up play and how that had a direct impact in how Fabian Bustos' team responded tactically. Then I will discuss whether Orense's new tactic of employing a 3-4-3 with 3 center backs and 2 wing backs was actually working or not. And then I will discuss Barcelona's starting lineup, their formation, and something very interesting, their extremely high tempo press, which led for there being one clear winner in the evening for Man of the Match award, which in my opinion was Williams Riveros, who had a fantastic game and was an unlikely beneficiary from this high tempo press that Barcelona implied. And then I'm going to present some final thoughts for you. So let's begin with Orense's starting 11. They had a 3-4-3 formation with 3 center backs, on the left Pucheta, in the center Achillier, and on the right Carcelén. Then the deploying of 2 wing backs, on the left Segura, and on the right hand side Canga. 2 central midfielders with Caicedo and Assis. And then a 3-line attack, on the left Uchuari, on the right Pisano, and up top as the lone striker Murialdo. It is worth mentioning here that both Pisano and Uchuari were not too active in attack. They served more like support for the 2 wingbacks when Barcelona had the ball and were attacking, and Murialdo was indeed the lone striker who had to fight against the Barcelona defense whenever he got any type of long balls or clearances. So first we're going to discuss a little bit about Orense's defensive shape. So what you can see right now on the screen is the final aspect of how it looked. When Orense did not have the ball, what happened was that both wingbacks number 18 and number 16 dropped back and they formed a 5-man defensive line. The 2 sitting midfielders sat right in front of those 5 defender lines that was created. And then finally, 2 of the front 3 dropped back to provide support and tried to contain Barcelona so that they did not have enough passing channels whenever they were doing their build-up play. So that's what you're going to see on screen right now. An interesting characteristic of the implementation of this system is the possibility that Patricio Lara's men had to have 3 center backs instead of the traditional 2 that they employ in their lineup. What does this help them do? Basically what happens is that one of the center backs of the 3 in the back has the possibility to be free. This allows them to be extremely aggressive for interceptions or even to chase the attackers that drop back into midfield, prioritizing getting the ball. And this is interesting because when that very aggressive center back moves out of the defensive line, the only thing that happens is that the defensive line shifts and forms a back 4, which is what we're going to see on the screen right now. So as you can see here, in this example, Carcelén chases the striker in Garces as he attempts to get the ball. Then what happens here? We have a defensive line of 4 people that is completely solid and there are no gaps there. This was quite useful for them because Barcelona seemed very uncomfortable in their own build-up phase. And they had to do something different, which is what we're going to see with their high-tempo press. However, what happened with this formation is that the concentrations of the players have to be there 100% of the time. If there's one little lack of concentration, it's going to generate problems, and that's particularly what happened. In the 25th minute, Carcelén mistimed his challenge when he was being extremely aggressive as that free center back, and that generated a penalty kick. And in the 46th minute of the first half, once again, Carcelén was very aggressive. He went out to try and win the ball out of, I believe it was Diaz. He was a little bit too aggressive. He did not get the ball correctly, and that completely made the defensive line be on the back foot. And that's what generated the second goal by Garcés when Barcelona had a 3-on-2 breakaway where they scored the second and final goal of the match. Now, something interesting about Orense as well was their clear decisions to have two very clear kind of build-up play. First of all, the first build-up that they did was when their rivals were set up in defense. So we're talking about in goal kicks, in free kicks. And what did they try to do here? They tried to play it out of the back. The goalkeeper or the defender would produce a short pass to the other person in the defensive line, and they would try to triangulate out of place in order to build up play calmly and to be able to generate that numerical advantage that Orense wanted to. And the second way that they had some build-up play was in quick defensive attacking transitions. Here, they tried to be more direct and play out quickly because of the fact that they expected Barcelona to not be set in defense, and this could even generate more numerical advantages in midfield with those 5 people in the midfield line, which allowed them to have always a numerical advantage. However, this was met with resistance by Barcelona's counterpress, a high-tempo counterpress, which made things extremely difficult for them. Overall, what happened for them is that they failed to use the numbers advantages that they got in very few occasions, and the times when they did get a numerical advantage, they simply played into Barcelona's defensive strengths by pumping balls into the penalty area, which was really easy for Williams Riveros in particular to be able to mop up and clear. So my final thoughts on Orense's starting lineup and their build-up play is that it did not work. He didn't expect it to fail as much as it happened, in my opinion. Basically, what happened is that the work rate from the team was there, the tactical discipline was clear to see, the defensive and midfield blocks were always very, very ready to follow the instructions that their manager had presented. However, the concentration levels by certain people, and particularly the personal decisions, let the team down. Patricio Lara, I believe, probably after the match, must have felt extremely disappointed that his team had the foundations there, yet the very small problems with rash decisions or lacking concentration really costed him in what could have been one of the most interesting tactical wins of the season. And I think that probably at the end of the first half, he also very clearly saw that it was not working, because at the start of the second half, he shifted to a 4-4-1-1 formation, which actually made him improve in the second half, but that is obviously not the focus of our initial video today. Now here is what I expect Patricio Lara felt like at the end of this. And now we're going to discuss Barcelona's formation. Barcelona's formation started off with their 4-2-3-1, which is their preferred formation. We have a back line on the left, Quiñones, the 2 center backs, Riveros and León, and on the right hand side, Pedro Pablo Velasco. Then we have 2 sitting midfielders with Piñatares and Lopez. Piñatares is always a little bit further back in the position of the pitch than Lopez is, but they both serve as a double pivot. Then we have 2 number 8/wing players. So on the right hand side, Castillo, and on the left hand side, Martinez. Then we have a very clear number 10 or second striker, depending on the conditions of the game, with Damian Diaz. And then finally, the lone striker up top, which was Garcés. So now I'm going to talk about the most interesting thing that Barcelona did with their playing style. And this was their implementation of a high press. A high press means that as soon as they lose the ball, or when Orense tries to build up with patience, Barcelona did something very similar to the system that was made popular by Jürgen Klopp with his Gegenpress system. Klopp defines the Gegenpress system as more effective than even the most effective playmaker. And he says this because when executed correctly, the Gegenpress recovers the ball close to the opposition's area, and your team would then be just one good pass away from a dangerous goal-scoring opportunity. For Barcelona, Diaz and Garcés pressed the center back who had the ball. When the center back played the ball to his midfielder, immediately Sergio Lopez would keep up the high-tempo press, forcing them to play balls into the wide areas, which was Barcelona's strong side, or the side that has the highest number of players, in order to attempt to win the ball back. And this is what we're going to be here. So the high-tempo press began with both of Barcelona's strikers pressing the person who had the ball, and this would then force him to pass it to the midfield player. But as soon as the midfield player got the ball, as we can see here, they would be completely surrounded by Barcelona players, which would force them then to go and play on the wing. And when they play on the wing, this high-tempo press meant that the whole offensive line that was counter-pressing would move to where the ball was, creating a strong side situation like we can see here. Here we have 2 Orense players in comparison to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Barcelona players. And what happens in that case? That means that the person with the ball on the wing is forced to either go back, which is impossible in this case because we have Garcés blocking the passing line. So the simple thing that they have to do is simply get rid of the ball, which is what they would do. And in this case, they got rid of the ball, and Williams Rivero was able to mop up without any type of problem. And this brings us to our next interesting point, which was the unlikely beneficiary from this, which was Williams Rivero. He ended the match with 10 interceptions and 13 ball recoveries, which we can see here in this scatter plot graph, which means that when a team executes a high-tempo press correctly, it can even lead to their main defenders, their center backs, having great stats and great games. So what I can conclude for here is that Barcelona's style of pressing led them to score the first goal with a mistake by Orense's Carcelén, the second goal when there was a mistake by Orense's defensive shape which made them concede. So what does this mean? It means that in this instant, Busto's game plan worked more effectively than Patricio Lara's plan. So that's my short video today about the 2 starting formations of the team and the most important tactical analysis elements that I was able to see during this match. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Hopefully everything was clear. And make sure to ask any questions if you have any issues. And if you liked the video, please, it would help me a lot if you gave it a like, if you subscribed, if you would share it. And don't forget to also follow me on Twitter on @RoundupPro. And hopefully I will see you again in the next video.